Wolfpack, we are finally here. Do you feel that? Do you feel the energy radiating from this game? I hope you all enjoyed that cinematic trailer, the very first trailer of 2023. And if you did, please subscribe down below for more cinematic board gaming content just like this. Now, today we are talking all about Andromeda's Edge, a 1 to 5 player game designed by Luke Laurie and published by Cardboard Alchemy, who sponsored today's video. Now, let's dive straight into the gameplay, shall we? Okay, in this game, which by the way, everything that you see today is from a prototype version of the game, but in this game, you are a desperate faction fleeing from an oppressive force known as the Unity. Your goal is to build up your station, extract resources from various planets, utilize your leaders to help construct these grand planetary developments, and ultimately battle for supremacy of Andromeda. Now, we all start off choosing an asymmetric faction, which is going to tell you a set of starting resources. And then it's also going to tell you where you specialize first on 1 out of the 5 tracks, or actually 2 of the 5 tracks. So in this case, we have red and brown. Red is going to be the combat track because I'm playing with the Zodian Warmongers. And then brown is going to be the industry track, which is going to allow you to build up your ships pretty quickly and upgrade them. Each track gives you something unique. So what you're going to do first is take one of your transports. We all start off with 3 of these basic ships. You're gonna take one transport and then launch it anywhere you like in Andromeda. So I can launch it over here, and then you're going to extract that resource if you landed at any of these colorful planets. So if I landed here, then I'm gonna take this red moon and then place it onto my player board. I can then convert it into resources, or I can also slot it into this area called tactical operations. Every time I lose a battle, I can gain this resource or a tactics card. So this is where the moon comes in handy because all these moons are very, very different. They all have different resources, or even sometimes this moon over here, the green one, shows a repair icon, which means I can repair every time I lose battle. So I have options to use the moon. I'm going to leave it here for now. And then that's it for my turn. The next player goes and then they launch their ship. So let's say pink launches their ship over here. Now, if you notice these 6 purple areas, those are going to be alliance bases, and they all have unique effects, from repairing and upgrading ships to building developments, which are these epic buildings that we'll talk about in a little bit. Other ones let you convert resources. And in this case, for the Maximus field, it allows me to advance up 2 tracks and then buy a green, which is a science module, or brown, which is one of the industry modules. Again, this one allows me to upgrade ships as well. So we have that worker placer element by launching a ship to a specific place and grabbing a resource. We also are starting to build up our engine now because of this module that you can buy and then slot into your player board. So if I buy one of the green modules, it's going to give you a specific cost. In this case, if I want to buy this one, power distributor, it's going to cost 1 nanocarbon and 1 of any resource. I'm going to take power distribution and then slot it into my player board. That's going to be important in a little bit. Now from there, since the pink faction is 1 space away from these deadly raiders, the raider's going to attack because every raider is going to have a range. This particular raider that we start with is a Vorticon Striker, which has a weapons value of 2 and a range of 1. I'll explain weapons in 1 second. So this raider now is going to invade this territory and then initiate an attack. And how combat works in this game is that you're going to roll a set of dice depending on the type of ships that you have available. So if I have 1 ship there, then I'm going to roll 1 die. But I can also use energy to spend in order for me to add more dice to my battle. So if I spend 2 energy, then I gain 2 more battle dice. So let's go ahead and do just that. Let's say I turn in 2 energy. So now I have 3 battle dice. The raider over here is going to roll 2 battle dice. And how combat is resolved is that you can play a bunch of different tactics cards. The one that rolls the highest single value is the one that's going to win. But for example's sake, let's say I have 3 ships there. That means I now have a targeting value of 3, which means anything that is rolled below 3, I can re-roll. So any 2s I roll, any 1s I roll, I can keep re-rolling constantly until I get something higher than a 2 or 1. So there is a targeting value depending on how many ships you have there. There's a weapons value, which is your innate number of dice that you get to roll for whatever weapons value that your ship has. If my ship has a weapons value of 2, then I get to roll 2 dice. And then I can also exchange dice for battle 2 by spending energy as well. And then there's also a range value for every ship. That's not it though, because there are a couple more things involved in battle. There's also an ability called Jump. And how Jump works is if my heavy cruiser, this crazy big ship that we get later on, if my heavy cruiser is all the way over to this side of Andromeda, I can actually spend 1 energy and then ship this one all the way over here. Jump allows you to move an infinite number of spaces by spending 1 energy while you're here on the board. And then aside from Jump, heavy cruisers also have shields. So they don't get knocked out by dealing 1 damage specifically in that battle. They can actually survive for another round until you damage them twice. Okay, so where are we at right now? We're taking our ship and we're launching it to any region. We're gonna grab that moon if we land at one of these colorful planets. If we land at one of the purple ones, then we follow the effect listed depending on which of the alliance spaces, not the purple planet, but the alliance spaces that we're launching at. And if we are within range of a raider or within an enemy faction that we want to fight, then we can initiate a battle depending on what that range value is and if they can meet. And then we can recruit different ships depending on where all the ships are located. Remember that huge ship that was like super far away? I can spend 1 energy to jump that ship over to where I'm fighting. And then you're gonna add a weapons value, which is how much each ship rolls dice for. And then you're also gonna add a targeting value, which is your dice mitigation mechanic. You're also going to add in energy and convert those into dice if you like. At the end, if you win against a raider, you'll gain a reward listed on the bottom right corner of the raider card. But if you're fighting another player, then you take out their ships and they will go to the scrapyard and you get to go up on the supremacy track, the red one listed here. And this one will give you different rewards. Going up these tracks will score you more and more points in endgame. It will also give you different rewards as you reach different tiers. And it'll also trigger events and allow you to build buildings. If you are pumped for this game, if you're ready to fight in intergalactic wars, then drop some rocket ships just like that down in the comments below. Okay, now from here, there are a couple of other questions that I want to answer for you. What if you lose combat? Well, like I mentioned earlier, if you lose, you're going to gain whatever award is listed here if you have a moon slotted into your tactical operations or you're one of your tactics cards. And then your ship also ends up in the scrapyard. Now this is bad because eventually we use up all of our ships and we launch them from our launch bay into Andromeda. Eventually we have to bring them all back. And then as we bring them back, this is how the engine builder takes place. Now, as we take our ship back, they're going to activate different module rows depending on what we have slotted in so far. So if I take my transport and slot it into this energy row, it's going to activate the entire row of green science modules. In the brown industry module, you actually have to have moons in order to link them up here. And then you only activate these one by one. The brown, yellow, and blue tracks all activate one at a time versus the green science track activates that entire row. Okay, let's take a quick breather for a second because I know I threw a ton of information at you. So sorry because I'm very, very excited, but at the same time, I'm not sorry too because I'm stoked to play this game. All right, what are we doing now with all of these resources? I've been launching to different planets. I've gained these resources. I've been slotting in these modules. I have a ton of stuff stored up. What do I do with those resources, Tim? Well, here's where developments come into play because ultimately we're trying to score a bunch of victory points and there are a lot of ways to do that. So one huge way to do that is through developments. Let's say if I want to build a development here, I'm actually going to need 3 leaders for that. And what that means is every time I launch to an area that has a leader, I'm actually going to recruit my leader back to my module. Eventually, when I have 3 leaders, I now can fulfill one part of this condition. The second part of this condition is that I need to have 3 resources. In this particular case, I need 3 ice in order to build this city. The other ones all have different resources listed, of course. The third condition I need to fill, remember these transports, the basic units that we started with? The transport is a foundation for the development. So that is condition number 3, which is to have a transport here. And the last one is to make sure that you're using an ability that allows you to actually build a development. So in this case, I need to have one of my other ships over on the development office, or I can also have one over here in the architect, which is on your player board. That's going to allow me to build a development. And then from there, I can build up a city. So I'll take this beautiful city and then I'm going to slot in my leaders right into each of these. And then this right here is going to lock into my transport just like that. And I've now built a city. This is going to score me a ton of points. Now, when I build a city, I'm going to gain a bunch of different effects. I'm going to be able to go up once on the blue track. I'm going to gain victory points for every single leader surrounding my city. And then I can also have this one-time use ability too. This one-time use ability allows me to go up on every single track one time. And then you flip it over, and these are the end game conditions. So the higher I am on the blue track, then the more points I'll score for every city that I have at the end of the game. So that's a really big part of this game, which are building developments, because developments give you a ton of points. And they also are going to give you extra battle dice when you are fighting in combat. Now, as you're progressing through the game too, you'll see these yellow markers on the event track. Every time someone goes up the tracks and then lands on one of these symbols, it's going to move the event track up one spot until eventually a brand new event is unveiled. And there are 3 things that happen with these global events. There's a beneficial effect that every single player can gain. And then a brand new raider can invade Andromeda, depending on which one is listed here. And then You also can gain victory points depending on different tracks that are shown. And right before you unveil a brand new event, you also unveil a brand new map tile, and then Andromeda will expand from there. So overall, your goal is to get the most amount of points possible. There are 3 different cutoffs that you can choose for the game, from 50, 60, or 70 victory points. And there are a ton of ways to score victory points, from advancing along the tracks, building developments. Some modules will have the symbol on them, meaning you need to repair them or else they're going to be damaged. And damage means you cannot use them. You can gain victory points depending on how far you've advanced across each of the tracks. You gain points for developments. You lose points for having damaged modules. And you'll also get points based on how many resources that you have left, how many leaders you have left, some faction bonuses, some other tactics cards may tell you ways to get victory points. There are just a lot of ways for you to score by the end of this game. So that, my friends, is a preview of Andromeda's Edge. If you have any questions about this game, let me know down in the comments below. I'm excited to see what you all think. If you made it to the end, comment "to the edge" so I know that you're a real one. You know that? And thank you for that. So with that, I'll see you all in the next one.